face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello viewers, I'm Tansai Gabiao and you're watching POA News of the Hour. Stay with us for a comprehensive coverage of the stories impacting our region and the global stage. The 7th African Union and European Union Summit concluded with renewed commitments to supporting Africa's economic development, industrialization, and the rapid implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, reaffirming their joint vision for 2030. The two blocs made specific commitments to supporting African countries in industrializing, diversifying exports, and speeding up the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Additionally, the declaration stressed the critical need for reform of the international debt architecture to provide more timely, transparent, and effective debt restructuring mechanisms addressing the liquidity challenges faced by many African nations. New cooperation initiatives were launched to ensure a prosperous and sustainable future. These include the Africa-EU Green Energy Initiative, aiming to provide at least 100 million people in Africa with clean electricity by 2030, and enhance collaboration on digital transformation and e-governance. In the health sector, the partners committed to strengthening pandemic preparedness and response, supporting the local manufacturing of health products in Africa, and advancing the Africa Health Security and Sovereignty Agenda led by the Africa CDC. The EU also welcomed the call for full, effective, and immediate implementation of the UNSC Resolution 2719, which addresses adequate and predictable financing for AU-led peace support operations through UNSS contributions. The declaration acknowledged and profoundly regretted the suffering inflicted by the slave trade, colonialism, and apartheid, expressing full support for inclusive dialogue on the African Union's 2025 theme of the year on justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparations. As Mali's fuel crisis worsens, a convoy of 82 petrol tankers arrived in the capital over the weekend from neighboring Niger. Amid ongoing regional insecurity, it took 21 days to make the 1,400-kilometer journey from Niamey to Bamako. A more than 2-month-old fuel blockade by al-Qaeda-linked militants has all but paralyzed the city and increased pressure on the military junta. Since early September, the jihadis have attacked multiple fuel convoys, disrupted transport routes, and intensifying scarcity. Meanwhile, Russia has pledged to supply Mali with 160,000 to 200,000 metric tons of petroleum and agricultural products. Its Africa Corps has reportedly provided support by escorting fuel tankers convoys to protect them from hijacking. Cameroon's pineapple exports fell by an average of 18.1% between 2020 and 2025, according to a new report by the Competitiveness Committee of the Ministry of Economy. Exports to the European Union, Cameroon's main market, declined even more sharply by 19.5%. The pineapple sector is seeing a drop in total exports and an even sharper fall to the EU. This suggests competitiveness issues or difficulties in meeting standards that market access alone cannot resolve, the committee noted. The continued decline in 2024 further reduced Cameroon's already marginal role in the global trade. Since 2019, the country has maintained a stagnant market share of just 0.1%, compared with Côte d'Ivoire, 0.9%. The stagnation has prevented Cameroon from benefiting from a 7.3% rise in global pineapple demand in 2023. Despite its agricultural potential, the country remains largely absent from the sector's international expansion. According to the committee, weak productivity in smaller planted areas relative to other major producers are key factors behind Cameroon's poor performance, particularly in a global market with strong demand. Aviation experts are highly commending Ethiopian Airlines for its rapid expansion and dominant role in Africa's aviation sector. As the continent's largest and fastest growing carrier, Ethiopian is seen as a benchmark for operational efficiency, connectivity, and innovation. With an 80-year history, the praise comes as Ethiopian government pushes forward with a major infrastructural investment to cement the country's position as a global aviation hub. The flagship project is the development of the Bishoftu International Airport, located 40 kilometers southwest of Addis Ababa. This massive undertaking is designed to alleviate congestion at the current Bole International Airport and serve as a primary connector for continental and global air traffic. The Bishoftu International Airport project is valued at $12.5 billion. Phase 1 is scheduled for completion by 2030 and is expected to accommodate up to 60 million passengers annually. The eventual design capacity is an ambitious 110 million passengers, which would make it the largest airport in Africa. Experts validate this optimism, highlighting Ethiopia's exemplary performance. Dr. Oliver Sindabi noted the airline's success in becoming Africa's #1 carrier, citing its cost-efficient operations, sustained profitability, and a vast network that efficiently connects nearly every African country. Furthermore, ET's strategic partnerships, such as its work with Sky Airlines and support for various national carriers, are actively rising operational and service standards across the continent, reinforcing the vision for a single African air transport market.
Ethiopian Airlines, I think, is now the #1 airline in Africa. They've opened up more routes. They are guaranteeing that you can access almost every African country through them. They are also supporting other airlines, and I think that's very, very important. They are now a model on how to run an airline efficiently, minimizing costs, maximizing profits. I think their safety record is quite good, and that makes it very, very attractive. And you find many people fly Ethiopian Airlines.
Abba Wadak, business development executive at Africa Aviation Services, added that Ethiopia's partnership, including its work with Sky Airlines and support for several national carriers, are raising standards across the continent. He emphasized that the airline not only sets high standards, but also proves Africa's capacity to excel in aviation, reinforcing the vision for a single African air transport market.
I think Ethiopian Airlines is doing an amazing job, seeing how much they've grown in Africa and how they've made themselves that much of a, like a staple piece when it comes to conversation around aviation, and helping other airlines, around the continent grow as well. Their partnerships with the Togolese airline, Sky, and then coming in alongside other airlines and other nations around the continent as well to help them kind of bring up the standards in their national carriers. I think they're doing a phenomenal job by setting the standard in Africa, but also showing that Africa is capable of doing amazing things in this space, which is aviation.
Looking ahead, Ethiopian Airlines is aggressively pursuing its Vision 2035 strategy with the goal of ranking among the world's top 20 aviation groups. The strategy focuses on expanding passenger and cargo services, maintenance, repair, and overhaul operations, ground handling, aviation training, and aerospace manufacturing. Over the past decade, the Star Alliance member has successfully tripled its growth and has earned consistent global recognition, notably being named by Skytrack's Best Airline in Africa for 5 consecutive years. Moving on to business news, the Royal Moroccan Air Force has placed an order for 10 H225M multi-role helicopters from Airbus Helicopters. This acquisition is intended to replace Morocco's aging fleet of Puma helicopters, some of which have been in service for over 40 years. Airbus Helicopters CEO Bruno Evan expressed honor in the selection, highlighting the aircraft's market momentum and the decades-long partnership with Morocco. The H225Ms for the Royal Moroccan Air Force will be specifically configured for combat research and rescue missions. They will feature specialized equipment, including a double hoist, a searchlight, and the advanced Safran Eurofiller 410 electro-optical system. For self-protection and combat readiness, the helicopters will also be equipped to carry machine guns and an electronic warfare system. The comprehensive contract with Airbus Helicopters includes a robust support and service package with connected services to ensure operational readiness. The H225M family is widely used globally, with over 360 units currently in service and nearly 1 million cumulative flight hours, serving military customers across multiple nations for CIRAS and special operations. Beyond the aircraft order, Airbus is reinforcing its commitment to Morocco. The company has maintained a presence in the country since 1951 through Airbus Atlantic, a subsidiary focused on manufacturing and maintenance. This relationship demonstrates a long-term industrial partnership. South Africa's largest food producer, Tiger Brands, reported a strong financial performance with a 31% rise in full-year headline earnings per share from continuing operations. The surge in earnings was primarily driven by strong volume growth and improved operating margins despite a challenging environment of muted customer spending. Group revenue increased by 2.7% to 34.4 billion rand, fueled by a 3.5% growth in volumes and softer pricing strategies aimed at providing value to strained household budgets. Second half volumes saw even stronger growth, rising by 5.7%. The company's focus on operational efficiency paid off, with operating income soaring by 35% to 3.8 billion rand. This improvement was supported by top-line growth and continuous improvement initiatives, including value engineering and factory efficiency. These efforts successfully lifted the operating margins to 11.1%, a 2.6 percentage point increase from the prior year and ahead of the company's own guidance. CEO T. Kruger noted that while food inflation is moderating essential costs still impact disposable income, making the strategy of providing value for customers critical to the company's success. Moving on to sports news, FIFA has officially selected Rwanda as one of the host nations for the expanded FIFA series in 2026. The prestigious tournament, designed to offer national teams a platform to compete outside their traditional confederations, will take place during the international match window in March and April. Rwanda and Mauritius are the two African countries confirmed to host events for the men's category. The FIFA series is a key component of FIFA's strategic objectives for the global game 2023 and 2027. Focusing on competitive balance and technical growth. It provides mid-tier and emerging national teams with crucial cross-continental exposure. According to FIFA president, the initiative is about unlocking development potential for players, coaches, and fans while promoting football's universality. The men's FIFA series for 2026 will be staged across 8 host nations spanning multiple continents. The confirmed hosts are Rwanda, along with Australia, Azerbaijan, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Mauritius, Puerto Rico, and Uzbekistan. This widespread hosting structure aims to maximize the initiative's impact and bring global football to new locations. Now let's review the latest weather forecast and expected conditions throughout the area. That concludes our broadcast from POA News for this hour. We appreciate your company and be sure to stay with us for more news updates from Africa.
Global economic powers convened on African soil, and with this milestone, South Africa did not simply host a summit, it repositioned the entire African continent at the center of global governance. This was the G20 Summit of Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability, a gathering charged with confronting the world's most pressing challenges and affirming Africa's rightful place in global decision-making. Before we walk further into the significance of this historic summit, it is essential to understand the situation at the heart of it. The Group of 20, or G20, is the world's premier forum for international economic cooperation. Formed in 1999 after the Asian financial crisis, the G20 originally brought together finance ministers and central bank governors from the world's most influential economies to stabilize the global financial system. Over time, as the global landscape grew more complex, so did the G20's mission. Following the 2007-2009 global financial crisis, the forum was elevated to the leaders level, recognizing that only coordinated political action at the highest level could protect the world economy. Since then, the G20 has become the central platform for shaping global economic direction and addressing a wide spectrum of issues, from climate change and global health to trade, development, energy, agriculture, digital transformation, and anti-corruption. The G20 comprises 19 countries: Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Republic of Korea, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, the United Kingdom, and the United States, alongside two regional bodies, the European Union and the African Union. Collectively, the G20 represents 85% of the world's gross domestic product, over 75% of international trade, about two-thirds of the global population. It is a forum without a permanent secretariat. Instead, leadership rotates every year among member states, supported by a troika of the previous, current and next presidencies. During South Africa's presidency, the troika consists of Brazil, South Africa and the United States. This governance structure allows the G20 to adapt quickly to emerging global crises, which today include climate change, inequality, sovereign debt pressures, energy insecurity, and slow progress toward the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, of which only 12% remain on track. And so, it is within this context of global urgency and rising uncertainty that the world gathered in Johannesburg. The primary goal of this historic meeting was clear: to redefine global cooperation at a moment when the world needed leadership and unity. Global leaders came to Johannesburg to advance four core priorities. First, strengthening disaster resilience, recognizing that climate-induced disasters are increasingly devastating countries least able to absorb the costs. Second, supporting just and equitable energy transitions, ensuring developing countries receive adequate financing, technology and support to build sustainable energy systems without undermining development. Third, improving debt sustainability, as many nations, especially in Africa, face unsustainable debt burdens that hinder investment, reduce fiscal space and threaten social stability. Fourth, elevating people-centered development anchored in fairness, accountability and global solidarity. These priorities shaped the Johannesburg Declaration, the summit's central political message to the world. Africa assumes its place. Africa's role at this summit was not peripheral, it was foundational. President Cyril Ramaphosa opened the summit with the conviction that Africa is not merely a participant in global affairs, it is a driver of global solutions.
When we were honored to become the president of the G20, we used the G20 platform to promote the Africa 2063 agenda We have sought to position Africa as a vital partner in advancing equitable development. We have advanced priorities such as disaster resilience, debt sustainability, finance for just energy transitions, and harnessing critical minerals for inclusive growth. We established an Africa expert panel to reinforce Africa's voice on debt sustainability, on the cost of capital, and financing for productive investment.
With a rising young population, expanding markets, rich natural resources, and accelerating innovation, Africa stands poised to shape the defining economic and social transformations of the 21st century. During the summit, South Africa demonstrated exceptional diplomatic leadership, navigating global tensions with firmness and dignity. Despite a controversial U.S. absence from the meeting and attempts to undermine African leadership, President Ramaphosa maintained composure, refused to cede symbolic ground, and reaffirmed Africa's sovereignty and authority. Yet, with statesmanship, he formally transferred the G20 gavel to the United States for the next presidency, signaling Africa's commitment to a functioning multilateral system even when others falter. Johannesburg made one message unmistakably clear: what Africa gains from the summit. This summit delivered concrete gains that speak directly to Africa's long-term ambitions: stronger global recognition of Africa's strategic role, commitment to disaster response financing for climate-vulnerable nations, momentum for debt reform, including fairer credit ratings and lower capital costs, expanded support for just energy transitions, strengthening Africa's path to green industrialization, focus on critical minerals as engines of growth and development for the continent. These gains are not symbolic, they are structural. They reshape Africa's engagement with the world, a new era of African leadership. The Johannesburg summit marked a turning point, signaled that Africa is not the world's future, Africa is the world's present. With demographic strength, natural resources central to the global energy transition, expanding urban markets, and cultural influence reaching every corner of the world, Africa is indispensable to global stability and prosperity. This summit affirmed that reality. From Johannesburg to the world, Africa demonstrated clarity, leadership, and resolve. The first G20 summit on African soil was not merely a diplomatic achievement, it was a declaration of Africa's arrival as a global leader. Guided by the spirit of Ubuntu and because we are, Africa has shown that multilateralism can be inclusive, that global solutions can be just, and that no nation must be left behind.